$187. That's your checking account balance the morning you turn 31. Not after bills, not after rent, after everything. $187 and a folder of client cancellation texts you've been collecting like receipts you can't throw away. It's a Sunday night. You're sitting on the floor of your apartment because you sold the desk last month for gas money. You've got your laptop open, not because you couldn't sleep, but because a client canceled on you for the third time this month, and something in you finally cracked open enough to look. You built this spreadsheet 8 months ago after a particularly bad week and closed it the same night because what it showed you was too uncomfortable to sit with. Tonight, you open it again. Income $31,200 a year, all cash, all unpredictable. That sounds almost fine until you map it out. $2,600 a month if every week goes right, and no week ever goes fully right. Rent $900, van payment $260, supplies $180, phone $70. Insurance you keep meaning to actually shop around for, $95. Groceries $280. That leaves you $815 on paper. But your bank statement says you've been spending closer to $1,100 in the column labeled everything else, cash jobs that never got tracked, a late fee here, a replacement mop bucket there. You've been going backward by nearly $300 some months for over 2 years and never once written it down until now. You close the laptop. You sit in the dark. Something shifts, not dramatically, not like a movie, just quietly, the way a door creaks open in a house that's been shut up too long. Here's what nobody says when you start this at 31. You are not behind. You are not doomed. But you are also not an employee waiting on a raise. You are a business owner who has been running the business like an employee, showing up, doing the work, taking whatever's left, and calling that a paycheck. Nobody ever sat you down and told you that owning a mop bucket isn't the same as owning a company. That one distinction is the entire next 9 years. At 32, you raise your prices for the first time in 3 years. You type the message 4 times before sending it. Your hands actually shake. You lose 2 clients immediately, the ones who were always going to leave the moment the number changed. You almost panic and undo the whole thing that same night. You don't. Within 2 months, you replace both of them with clients who don't blink at the new rate. People who were never going to hire the cheapest option anyway. Just the first one who showed up looking like they knew what they were doing. You hire your first employee at 33. Her name doesn't matter to the math. What matters is that for the first time in 6 years, you can be in 2 houses at once. Your income doesn't double overnight, but your time does. And time is the thing you've actually been short on this whole time. You start noticing the difference between working in the business and owning it. A distinction that sounds obvious, written down, and is nearly invisible when you're the one still driving the van every morning. Your first real emergency fund hits $1,000 that same year. You sit with that number for a second. No celebration, no announcement, just something small and solid where there used to be nothing. It leaks constantly at first. A client pays 2 weeks late and rent is due anyway. The fund drops to $400. You refill it. A slow month in February takes another bite out of it. You refill it again. Your van needs new brakes, $380 you did not plan for. 2 years earlier, this would have gone on a credit card you'd still be paying off at Christmas. Instead, you pull it straight from the fund, pay cash, and rebuild what you spent over the next 6 weeks without missing a single top-up. You start to understand, slowly, that this number was never meant to be spent freely. It was meant to buy you the ability to stay calm when something breaks, which in this line of work is not a matter of if but when. At 34, you have 4 employees and a real office lease. Small, 1 room above a hardware store, but yours, with your name on the door for the first time. You automate $500 a month into a business savings account and another $300 into a Roth IRA, both pulled out before you ever see them land in checking. You live on what's left. Some months it's still tight. You stop pretending it isn't, which turns out to be its own kind of relief. That winter, your biggest client cancels their contract with no warning, an email at 9 p.m. on a Thursday. It was 30% of your monthly revenue gone in one message. 3 years earlier, this would have ended the business. Full stop. Instead, you sit at your kitchen table, check the account, and find 4 months of buffer sitting there exactly where you left it. You allow yourself 1 bad night. Then you start making calls. You replace half the lost revenue within 6 weeks and the rest by the end of the quarter. Not through luck, but because you had a list of every client who'd ever said maybe later, and you finally called every single one. At 35, your friend Devon opens a second location for his food truck business, fully financed, no cushion, everything borrowed against the assumption that the first one keeps working forever. You're in the passenger seat of his new truck one Saturday, and you feel the pull of it, the shine of moving fast, of looking like you've made it. Somewhere quietly, a voice asks whether all this discipline is starting to look like fear wearing a nicer outfit. You notice the voice. You don't argue with it, and you don't act on it either. You've learned that wanting something and being ready for it are two different questions with two different answers. That same winter, business slows across your whole area, a slow season nobody warned you about. Bookings drop 20% over 6 weeks. You check the calendar every morning like it might have quietly refilled itself overnight. You force yourself to stop checking daily. You trim costs carefully, non-essential software, an equipment upgrade you can push another year without cutting a single employee's hours. By spring, bookings recover fully, not because of anything dramatic you did, just because you didn't panic and the business caught up to itself the way businesses do when you give them room. Your vacuum fleet finally needs replacing that same year. You're standing in an equipment aisle holding two options, one cheap, one built to last 5 years longer at nearly double the price. 5 years ago, you'd have grabbed the cheap one without a second thought. Instead, you do the math on cost per job, not cost today, and you buy the one that lasts. At 36, your business account crosses $50,000 for the first time. Not personal wealth yet, just the business finally able to breathe on its own without you holding your breath every single payroll cycle. You pay yourself a real, boring, consistent salary that month, the same amount landing on the same day regardless of how the month actually went. No more scraping together whatever's left over. It is, without question, the most unremarkable and most important financial decision you've made in 5 years. Your old employer, the cleaning franchise you left at 30, shuts its local branch down that same year. You run into your former manager buying supplies at the same store you've shopped at for years. He looks tired in a way you recognize instantly, the exact tired you carried around at 31, and you realize, without saying it out loud, how far away that version of you actually is now. You increase your emergency fund target from 4 months to 6 that same week, without telling anyone why, because watching someone else's floor fall out from under them has a way of clarifying what your own floor is worth. At 37, Devon calls. His second location isn't working. He's behind on the loan and asks quietly if you know anyone hiring drivers. You help where you can, but you feel the specific weight of what discipline actually bought you these past 6 years, options he no longer has, and you don't say that part out loud either. Your Roth IRA quietly crosses $50,000 that same year, separate from the business entirely, growth doing what growth does when you leave it alone long enough to compound without interruption. At 38, your father calls on a Sunday evening. He sounds careful, the way he sounds when he's rehearsed what he's about to say. The furnace has been failing for months, and he ignored it as long as he could. The repair is $4,500. He's sorry to ask. You tell him not to be sorry. You transfer the money the next morning without touching payroll, without touching the Roth IRA, without the old 3-day spiral of figuring out which card to put it on and how many months it would take to dig back out. You sit with the phone in your hand afterward and realize what you actually built the buffer for was never really for you at all. It was for this exact phone call, so that when it came, you could say, "I'll take care of it," and mean it completely. By 39, your business runs 3 full days a week without you physically in it. 8 employees, a manager you trust with the schedule and the keys, systems you finally wrote down instead of carrying in your head where only you could access them. Money moves whether you show up or not. You take a Wednesday off that spring, the first one in 9 years that wasn't forced by illness or emergency. Nothing breaks. Nobody calls. You spend it doing almost nothing, and it takes you most of the day to stop waiting for your phone to ring. Your van loan gets paid off in full that same spring. One transfer, strangely quiet for something you used to lie awake doing math about at 2 a.m. You also feel something that year nobody warns you about, a specific kind of loneliness. The people closest to you aren't doing this. Some are in genuine financial pain that quietly breaks your heart to watch up close. Some make good money and spend all of it in a way that seems fine until it won't be. You've tried bringing it up gently, twice. It went nowhere. People don't change their relationship with money because a friend mentions a spreadsheet over dinner. They change it in the dark at their own kitchen table when the number finally gets too uncomfortable to avoid, the same way you did. So you carry it quietly. You split the bill evenly, even on nights you ordered less. You don't perform discipline as a personality. You just keep going. You wake up on your 40th birthday, and before anything else, before coffee, before your phone, you lie there in the dark and think about the apartment floor, the sold desk, the $187, the spreadsheet you almost closed for good and didn't. Then you check the number. Business equity, retirement account, and personal savings combined, just over $310,000. 9 years earlier, you had $187 and a mop bucket. You are not wealthy in the way the internet defines it, but you are 40 years old with real, working assets built from a deficit, built from one honest night you finally refused to look away from. You didn't get lucky, though luck played a quiet supporting role and you know it. You got consistent. You raised your prices while your hands were shaking. You rebuilt the fund every single time it leaked. You stayed calm when the biggest client left without warning. You paid for a furnace repair without panic and meant it when you said you'd take care of it. 8 years ago, you thought wealth would feel like a number. It didn't. It felt like a Wednesday off with nothing breaking. It felt like telling your father, "I'll take care of it," and sleeping fine that night. Most of all, it felt like waking up one morning and realizing the future was no longer something happening to you. It was something you had built, one uncomfortable decision at a time.